What's good, everybody? Thank you for stopping by to visit the channel for this upcoming game preview. If you want to stay updated in the world of college football, if you haven't done so already, pound that subscribe button, click the notification bell, and select all so you won't miss out on another video. Also, like the video, it helps the channel grow, and give me your score prediction in the comment section below, even if you agree or disagree with my score prediction. So, let's get down to it. Friends, family, and even marriages are tested when Alabama and Auburn play each other the Saturday after Thanksgiving, and this year, it will not be any different. Both teams took care of business this past weekend as Alabama dispatched Kentucky and Auburn defeated Tennessee. Will Auburn make it 2 years in a row against their rivals in Tuscaloosa, or will Alabama make amends from their heartbreaking loss last year? Let's find out. So as we review the tail of the tape, Alabama is now number 1 in overall SP Plus and F Plus ranking. Another sight that Crimson Tide fans are happy to see is their defense is ranked in the top 10 in defensive SP Plus after spending most of the season outside of the top 15. Auburn, on the other hand, has been up and down in Bill Connolly's advanced metrics. The Tigers were ranked as high as 2nd in defensive SP Plus and 14th in offensive SP Plus to now outside of the top 25 in offense and ranked 25th in defensive SP Plus. Bill Connolly's SP Plus rankings give Alabama an 89% win probability, and the Vegas line opened with Alabama as a 23.5 point favorite. Outside of that first quarter where it seemed Alabama was trying to get back into the swing of things, this was a dominating performance against a Kentucky team that was undermanned going into it. There is not much to talk about when a team wins by 60 points. This performance places Alabama's defense ahead of Georgia at number 1 in defensive success rate, giving Alabama the number 1 ranking in both offensive and defensive success rate in the conference. I'm pretty sure Alabama fans thought they would not see that after their showing against Ole Miss early in the year, but the defense has improved, especially in the second half. Since the Georgia game, Alabama's defense in the second half has been exceptional. The Crimson Tide is 1st in second half defensive success rate, 3rd in second half defensive yards per play at 4.72, 2nd in second half defensive yards per carry at 4 yards per carry allowed, and 1st in second half havoc rate at 20%. Now, I'm sure you're going to say, well, Alabama was playing against Georgia, Tennessee, Mississippi State, and Kentucky. And you are correct in your assessment. However, I must remind you, if any one of those 4 teams were going up and down the field against Alabama's defense, I know Alabama fans would have lost their minds. The level of vitriol that would have spewed out would have been biblical in comparison to what was said during the Ole Miss game. There is something about 100-yard pick sixes in Jordan-Hare Stadium that shifts the game in Auburn's favor. Tennessee was down 13-10 with under 3 minutes to go in the third quarter, and they were engineering a masterful drive. Jared Garantano telegraphs his pass, and Auburn Smoke Monday picks the ball off in the end zone and races the other way for a backbreaking touchdown. Tennessee never recovered, and Auburn was able to put the game away. When you look at the advanced box score, there are a few takeaways from this game. The first takeaway is that Tennessee didn't just run the ball effectively against Auburn, they ran it at will against Auburn's defensive line. Tennessee's offensive line generated 3.38 line yards per carry, and if your offensive line is responsible for anything above 2.85 line yards per carry, that means your offensive line was moving some folks around. Keep in mind, I'm going to say this just like the Alabama-Kentucky game, the offensive line yardage statistic is only calculated when the game does not reach garbage time. And number 2, Tank Bigsby's health is something to look out for. When Auburn decided to give the kid some run against Georgia in week 2, he gave them a spark, and Gus Malzahn continued to use him in the ground game. He is without question Auburn's best running back with a 50% rushing success rate. Both DJ Williams and Sean Shivers are under 45%, and that is a large drop-off. Also, the injury to their right tackle is something to keep an eye on, especially for an offensive line that has played pretty well over the last few weeks. The Auburn offensive line is responsible for an offense that is 3rd in the conference in rushing success rate, and they are 1st in the conference with carries going at least 4 yards or more at 49%. When Alabama has the ball, they have a huge advantage against Auburn's defense. From the outset, Alabama should not have problems running the ball against Auburn's front. But if you remember, Alabama didn't have any issues running against a better Auburn front the previous year, with NFL draft picks Marlon Davidson and Derek Brown anchoring their front, as Alabama's offensive line averaged 2.76 line yards per carry, and the running backs had a 51% rushing success rate. And when I say running backs, I'm more than likely saying Najee Harris did. When Auburn has the ball, the only advantage they have is their offensive line versus Alabama's defensive line, primarily in the interior. While Alabama has improved in this area, it does not have that same interior presence from past years, since players like Deron Payne and Quinnen Williams are currently in the NFL. If anything, Auburn can use their shifts and misdirection to test Alabama's eye discipline to force them to be a step slow in reading their keys. As far as Bo Nix in the passing game goes, I will look for Auburn to go with some max protection looks, but given that Alabama is not excellent in getting to the quarterback, they may not need to go with an additional blocker. In the keys of the game, Bo Nix must be good on the road. Bo Nix at Jordan-Hare throughout his short career has been outstanding, and this year is no different. This year he has a 64% completion rate, averages over 9 yards per pass attempt, and he has thrown for 8 touchdowns with 1 interception. On the road, entirely different story. He has a 58% completion rate, 2 touchdowns, and 4 interceptions. And in those 2 games that they lost, it was in Georgia and South Carolina, he did not play well in those games. For Alabama, they have to limit the small mistakes. In a game where you are favored by over 3 touchdowns, you must play clean football. Alabama cannot make a ton of mistakes against a team like Auburn, who will ride that wave of momentum. The computer model has Alabama winning the game by the score of 44-16. The model is predicting Auburn will average 86% of their standard yard per play output at a shade over 5 yards per play. It should be said Auburn comes into this game averaging 5.89 yards per play, but that number dips in road games as they average 5.2 yards per play. For Alabama, the model reads they will average 7.79 yards per play, which is roughly 98% of their standard yard per play average. At home, Alabama averages 99% of their standard yards per play output, and they come into game second in the country in that metric at 7.92. I believe Alabama circled 3 games on their schedule this year: Georgia, LSU, and Auburn. They took care of Georgia. I believe they would have definitely taken care of LSU, and by judging from how their players reacted to the game being canceled, they were foaming at the mouth for that one. And I think this one would not be any different. I believe they're going to take care of Auburn in this game. I think the game will start out relatively close. Gus Malzahn will do his best to make sure that they try to get points on their first few scripted drives, maybe try to get a cheap one here and there, take deep shots when the big play is there. But Alabama in the second half, they have been consistent down the stretch as of late, and I think they will pull away with their offensive line leaning on Auburn's front by the score of 48-17. And with that being said, that is a wrap for another game preview. Let me know what your thoughts are in the game in the comment section below. Give me your score prediction and also tell me why your respective team is going to win the Iron Bowl this year. I hope you enjoyed the video. All I ask is that you give the video a like, it helps the channel grow. And if you love college football as much as I do, hit that subscribe button if you want to stay updated with the latest previews and the occasional highlights. And as I say with every video, thank you for watching and thank you for visiting the channel.